Well, hello everyone and welcome back to another video of some F1 2021 game ideas. Yes, it's a couple of weeks ago since we last did the last one. This one was supposed to come last week, but there was a technical issue which meant that I couldn't actually get this out on the channel basically. So it's coming this week. It means that we've only got 3 episodes after this one, which will wrap up with some customization and some other stuff with my team. There's some multiplayer stuff that I want to touch on as well, and then we'll just have a final roundup of other stuff. And of course, if you've got any ideas that you want of your own, then of course let me know in the comments below, and I'll include them in the final episode in about 4 weeks time or so, close to December, Christmas I think it'll probably be. But yes, we're here today to talk about sponsors and interviews. If you are new to the channel, then please do get subscribed. We're one away from our end of year target at the time of recording at 250, so I'd really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. It's the big red button under the video. It massively helps me out. But yes, first of all, we're going to go on to sponsor events. Now, currently in F1 2020, they have those classic car events and they give you acclaim, but it doesn't really do you much. For starters, they're a bit boring, like racing around, trying to set lap times around in cars that we're not really interested in. So I think this needs to have a little twist, and the twist that I think that would get more people doing these events is to make them do like the F1 style events where you have to get, I don't know, maybe they give you some fake sponsor skill points, and they give you more depending on if you do drifting donuts, just stuff like that. People like to see in those sort of F1 style F1 events, things that they were doing in the close comparison, like London, Milan. I think they have one, Miami. I think they did one in New York. I think they did one in Melbourne as well. But they probably just get a few. All you have to do is to set it up, and then get these sort of scanning the surrounding area, and then put in the skyline in the background. I would definitely more likely to play something like that, where it just isn't. It's something a little bit different. You can relax. You're not having to be on edge all the time with the career mode, and you can just go out and have fun. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if you bin the car as opposed to in the race, I suppose. But so yes, a sponsor event really would potentially make those invitational events a lot more likely for people to actually do them, as opposed to just something that's in the way in the calendar. Second thing about sponsors, and the final thing about sponsors, I haven't really touched. I'm not going to really go into too much detail about sponsors. Obviously, the objectives, some of them are ridiculous already because they base it on a number of laps, which, if any person who has actually ever watched F1 knows that the number of laps changes from each weekend. So it's obviously easier to do, let's say they give you 50 laps to do in a race weekend. That's easier to do in, let's say, around like Monaco, where there's 78 lap race, compared to a place like Spa, where there's only 44 laps. So again, there needs to be on those goals. It needs to be based on mileage, and that mileage needs to be based on how the distance of your career. So if you're doing a 25% career, and that mileage has to be less compared to if you're doing a 50% career, 100%. Hopefully they introduce 35% as well. So yes, there needs to be, and the increment of, depending on how long your career mode is per race, needs to affect the sponsor goal that needs to be achieved. Should that be, of course, the one that is you're on track for those laps, it should actually be mileage. But yes, the second idea was sponsor personality, adding at least adding a face, a person, giving emails at the very least. This has to be emails from the sponsor saying congratulations, inviting you to sponsor events, etc., etc. Give the sponsor a face, because at the moment it's just a load of logos. It does not mean anything. Give each of the sponsors a personality, a background, storyline. They're all fake, so you can make them up. It should use your imagination, Codemasters, and actually do something for once with them. So yeah, ideally we'd love to see some cutscenes, but I imagine that's going to be pushing it for F1 2021. That's where I'm going with it, though, in the future, is to have cutscenes, and you will have a relationship then with that sponsor, obviously, as well. So if you've said it's great to have them on board, then that relationship's going to keep going up. But obviously, if you've been irritable about them, saying that they're late on their payments, because that should be something else. When they're late on, they don't pay up, and then you have a problem. That's something else that definitely would be nice to see in the career mode as well. And then you can obviously use the media to bow out, and then that relationship's going to go down, and they're not and they could actually just say, well, we're not going to, we don't want to be involved with you. Simple as that. So yes, there needs to be that two-way relationship between you and your team, and also the sponsor has to have their relationship controlled by the game, and the option to drop out just randomly or for reasons. And speaking of relationships, driver relationships as well. Obviously, if you've been mouthing somebody, let's take for example Lando Norris as well, and I think actually this is just driver relationships in general, but also based on interviews as well, because that's really where you're going to be, the only way you'll get in the career mode at the moment, that you can express your views at how you felt the race went against a driver, should there be a particular incident, as opposed to just, because obviously in the game we don't have the option to tweet on social media like other people. So yes, and also, so obviously for example, the relationship between Max Verstappen and Lance Stroll now is pretty much an all-time low, and you'd get those relationships where they will never be your teammate. Basically, they will not be in the same team at all. I'd love to see that also relationship work between two different AIs, and then you see that happening. Again, a cutscene maybe where they have a picture of like in FIFA, where they have a picture of the driver, and then they have a little bit of a transcript as well. So yes, I'm going to come back to that actually in just a moment, because it's actually built into the last point of this episode, of this video. So yes, the fourth point is about Will Buxton. I know that he's been repetitive. His questions do need to be reworded, I think, but in driver career mode he appears once at the start of the episode and doesn't bother coming again, so definitely needs work there. Need to see more of him in the driver career mode. He needs a little bit of a rework also in the My Team career mode as well. With some of the questions are a little bit too repetitive. He asks the same one every time, and it just gets boring. And then also we can't have an interviews episode without talking about Claire. Her attitude on F1 2020 is poor. She keeps tutting at you. She makes these rude remarks, which I would love to see. If you're not if she makes those rude remarks, I want to say I don't want to be interviewed by you anymore. Maybe get a couple of different interviewers as well, just to regenerate the game, and maybe have relationships between that. Again, the relationships between between everything will probably count towards contracts and other stuff and sponsors and so on. That, I think, has to be the main focus of the games going forward. Obviously, of course, outside of obviously the racing, of course. But I think also Claire just interviews you in these random locations, which I don't get, because you don't unless of course you're before the race. Usually they interview you in the media pen as well, or specific broadcasters ask you out. So I think having the media pen rather, have her there, and then reduce the amount of backgrounds that you've got to import for F1 2021, so to save the space obviously as well, and then that can be reassigned on other stuff like cutscenes and and also just rework her questions as well, because some of them being absolutely ridiculous on F1 2020. She hasn't changed in the couple of years, so she needs a lot of rework done on her. And the final bit is coming back to the clips. So as I was saying, if somebody said something, then you should have like they do in FIFA, where they have a picture of the AI driver, and then they've got the they got a bit of a interview transcript. So that's sort of building on something that we had in F1 2019, where we had a bit of the transcripts in F1 between Devon Butler, Lucas Weber, but obviously extending that role to the other AI drivers as well, which of course you can form relationships with everybody, and also press conferences as well, because obviously they're an official part of the weekend, so you're not going to get selected for all of them. Maybe you get an email from Emma saying F1 or FOM rather have selected you for this weekend's press conference, blah de blah de blah, and then you get Will Buxton asking you specific questions, and obviously you get other drivers there as well, but again they'd probably have to import voices like they did in the Journey in FIFA again. So again, there's lots of stuff that can be worked in for that. And I'm going to leave it there. If you have enjoyed this video, then leave a like, subscribe to the channel for news, see more episodes of this F1 2021 game ideas when they come out. They're usually on a Friday at 7 o'clock, unless we get some more technical issues, which we shouldn't do, hopefully. If you've got a game idea of your own, then let me know in the comments below. Next week is the final of the My Team Driver Career Mode episodes, where we'll be talking about customization and then some other stuff. So if you've got any ideas specifically about My Team or the Driver Career Mode, then let me know in the comments below before next Friday, please. Until the next video, it's time. Take care. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy today, and goodbye.